Hello and welcome to our Flavour Hunters virtual tasting. I'm your host, Mad Schmall. May is all about celebrating the flavour of Scotland's whisky festivals. So where better to come to you from than the Queen of the Hebrides? We're coming to you live from Islay. And we are at Islay Rum Distillery for an evening of drams and fun. So first up, I'm going to take you through our running order for the evening. First up, we've got the Distillery G16 Rare Release, a dark and stormy creme brulee. Next up, we'll go to the Distillery 24 Rare Release, massive oak extraction. Third, it's over to Distillery 93 Rare Release, lock, stock, and 2 smoking funnels. And after that, it's the Distillery 3 Rare Release, the finesse of a fragrant furnace. Finally, we're on to our festival release, cask number 53.446, blow-torched Mexican mousse. So this is the point to make sure that you have your drams, water, and your tasting mat ready, get any pairings ready that you've chosen for the evening. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I can already see the comments. We've got lots of people tuning in from the Netherlands and Fréjus and Bristol and all over. It's great to have you with us. I'm going to bring on your ambassadors now. We've got Olaf, who's coming in and sitting next to me. We're actually doing an in-person tasting.
That's it. First time for a long time.
First time in a long time, yeah.
Good evening, one and all.
Yeah,
happy
days.
Yes, my voice is a bit croaky. That's not because I've drunk too much whiskey. I was talking too much about whiskey in the last 4 days. So I hope you can hear me, and I'm sure we're going to have a cracking evening.
There are some good drams ahead. And then we've got our Benelux country manager, Bob Wenting, also joining us. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Good evening, Matt. I'm good. I'm actually very good. I brought my storm coat. Do I need it on Islay today?
No, you don't need it on Islay today. The weather has been absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
And I hope it's nice where you are as well, Bob.
It's been great today, actually.
It's been great.
In the 20s, so no complaining here.
Long deserved. I think we've been waiting a while for this good weather.
That's correct. Yep.
Well, I think, there's no time like the present. Why don't we get cracking on the first dram?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. So,
thanks very much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, over to you, Olaf.
Yep. So we're going to take the first one, which is Distillery G16. So G being a grain whiskey and 16. So if everyone has poured it, you can see lovely color. Really that typical amber color, which most people say that's what whiskey has to be looking like. But of course it doesn't have to be, because most people put spirit caramel in. We don't. This is all the original color from the cask. So this is a grain whiskey. We're the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, but occasionally we do fun things like this one. And this was a real fun thing, because it's a grain whiskey, but it's not really a grain whiskey, if you know what I mean. No, you don't. It's been double distilled in pot stills, so not in continuous stills. And the mash bill of that one was 58% maize, 21% malted barley, and 21% unmalted rye. So in a way, it is sort of a bourbon-esque whiskey. We can't say bourbon because it was distilled in Scotland. And but when you nose it, the first bit, you're getting that sweetness from the maize, but you're also getting that dry oiliness, spiciness from the rye content, because 21% rye is a lot of rye content. Normally bourbons have about maybe 5 or 10% rye max, but here we've gone the full way with 21%. So I'll just give it a nose. Also, what you don't nose at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, is the 60% alcohol, because it is cask strength. That's what we always do. So we leave it at cask strength. And sorry, I'm wrong. It's 50% alcohol, because this one, everything's different in Fraiche. Everything is different in the festival, because that's the only one we actually have diluted down to 50% alcohol. Usually we leave it undiluted. But here we just thought 50% might be the optimal drinking level. On the other hand, you might want to add a drop of water, but I would recommend to you first try it neat, and then see if you need a drop of water. And that's what I'm going to do now. Slàinte.
Slàinte. Wow, the sweetness of that.
It's first the sweetness and then the dryness right at the back of your throat. So it's spicy and dry in terms of the flavor profile, because we in the panel we also assess the flavor profile, which is one out of our 12 flavor profiles, and I think spicy and dry hits the nail on the head here.
Yeah. What do you think, Bob? What are you getting from this drum?
Well, besides all the spiciness and the sweetness from it, I also get loads and loads of fruits in there. Perhaps not fresh fruits, but more things like confit or marmalade, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also, and that's a bit different from what you normally get from a grain whiskey. It's also very thick and oily almost to the palate. So.
Yeah. It's got a great mouthfeel, I would say, this one.
It has.
And it is just, there's lots of different flavors that are unfolding for me. So please, by all means, tell us what tasting notes you're getting. And if you've paired this one with anything, if you've got a wee half and half on the go, let us know in the comments as well. We don't have a half and half, but we've got lots of water.
No, I still need to drive you home.
Yes.
So therefore, no, what I mean, I still recommend you to maybe add a drop of water. I mean, but as I say, if you like it neat, drink it neat. But when you add a drop of water, what I'm finding is a lot more this exotic, fruity notes, which Bob mentioned as well, coming out. But also there is this, coincidentally, the rum notes coming out. We're sitting here in a rum distillery. So maybe I'm just sort of drifted away in the Caribbean feel as well out there. You see the blue turquoise sea as well. I mean, you could almost be in the Caribbean. So what we didn't said is a French rhubarber, or how about a dark and stormy creme brulee, which is rum, ginger, and lime. So you got the sweetness, you got the ginger, the spiciness, and you got the lime, which gives you sort of just that little bit of a citric note. And I must say, like rum makes me always smile, and this one does make me smile as well.
Excellent.
Also to mention, which is again different to everything else normally, because as you know, in the Scotch whisky industry, we're using normally used casks. So something else was in it, be it bourbon, be it sherry, be it port, be it Sauterne. This one, actually, we had in virgin oak casks. So basically exactly how the Americans do their bourbons in new oak casks. So it says first fill, but it's not a first fill as we know it. It's actually first time that Scotch whiskey's gone in, but before nothing was in it. So this is what we would call a virgin oak cask.
I've added a wee bit of water to that, and I get a lot more tropical fruits coming through. We've also got some really good comments coming through. Mark Reed says it goes really well with the chocolate that they're eating. I think this one would be great with chocolate, also probably with cheese. And we've got Julian saying it's a knife and fork whiskey, malt hound, brulee. They're saying it's quite oily with cane sweetness that goes dry quickly, orange and peppery. And Sarah has said this is sold out online, but is there a link from buying for tonight's tasting? So I'm afraid this one is sold out, and we don't have any more of this to sell. And we'll let you know throughout the evening which ones are available. I believe at the minute, however, it's just the 53.446 that's available in both the EU and UK. And then we have some of our other festival releases that are still available to purchase, but not part of this tasting pack, but still definitely worth checking out if you haven't tried them yet.
You see, we were thinking after last year as well, where we did small batches, yes, we hopefully still have them at the festivals. Now this one is 1,300 bottles, and they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just
We've got some more tasting notes coming in. So Christophe says knows the rye spiciness comes through at first before sultanas, caramel, custard cream, and toasted oak. And on the palate, it's really woody and caramel on the arrival, pepper, lemon zest, and cough syrup. Robert Hardy Pickering says he has added water, and it reminds him of a Tunnock's tea cake.
I like Tunnock's tea cakes.
Yeah, which is great.
Maybe I need some cough syrup.
Cough syrup. And we've got lots of other folks joining us, and I think we're off to a great start.
Yep,
absolutely.
Yep.
I haven't got any around, but things like, I think this would go really well with things like dried fruits, for instance, dried mango or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just a fun rum. I mean, we're sitting here in Port Ellen. You know, the beach is just outside.
Yeah.
So I could just leave you guys now and just sit there and just enjoy the sunshine and
The sunset. Yeah.
see the waves coming in. You know, sort of imagine the palm trees.
Rub it in.
Well, we don't have it too often to rub it in, Bob. So we have to make the most of it when it happens.
It's true. The weather has not been particularly great in Scotland this year. I think we can all agree on that.
And for sort of American bourbon people as well, we reduced it to 50% as well, because that is the bottled in bond strength in the United States. So that's a very different, not very different, but it is a different category to the bourbon, bottled in bond, and they always then dilute it down to 100% US proof, which is 50% our percentage of alcohol. So it's also sort of a nod to our friends in the USA.
Well, one of the things that we were thinking about with tonight's tasting is that we're coming to you live from a rum distillery. And so we thought, as part of that, it would be quite nice to introduce you to the folks who are here at the Islay Rum Distillery. So I'm going to step off camera and mic up the Islay Rum Distillery manager, Ben Inglis, and he's going to come on and talk to Olaf, and then we'll do a wee switcheroo and go on to the next dram. So pardon me for a moment, I'll be back.
As you can see, it's all live here. It's all live. It just happens. Here we are. That's Ben.
Hi there, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
I'm very well tonight, yeah.
Good. When I walked in here 2 days ago and I saw the still, you know, the pot still to 2 Dundas, I thought, hey, the last time I saw that was in Mount Gay in Barbados. And it's a very typical Jamaican style. I mean, sort of in terms of what they're doing, funky and wonderful, and quite interesting, because we were talking about Colin as well from
up in Orkney,
up in Orkney, because I was there literally 2 weeks ago. He's got a very different still.
Yes, it is
a
indeed.
Very different still, but still making very good rum.
Great rum, great
and what I really like, most people who know me, they know I love my rums, and here as well, I've tried the rums. I've tried things which I shouldn't be trying, but I still tried them. And I can tell you, I'm looking forward to these rums here, because they are honest, they're straightforward. Yes, there will be maybe some spice rums to start off with, but at the end of the day, that will be straightforward, a little bit of funky. There is the Dunder Pit as well, adding to it. So, if you just want to say a few words.
Yeah, of course. So we're fairly new to the distilling scene. So we started up in January last year in 2020. Our first product kind of came out in the middle of 2022. This time last year, we released our first rum, which is called Gal, which is Gaelic for white. And that rum was really like the kind of work of 4 or 5 months of getting a recipe together and a spirit that I was happy to put in a bottle. So it's we actually use a little bit of dunder for that rum and a mix of 2 different types of molasses when we're making that. So it's fairly light. It's probably the lightest spirit that we'll do, but it's still got a little bit of funkiness in the background as well. And kind of you can tell, I think, that it's inspired by some of these distilleries out in Jamaica, Barbados, and places like that. As I mentioned, there's also our new release this year, which is a spiced rum, a flavoured rum, and that was made using a kind of different base of spirit. It's a spirit that usually goes into our cask, so it's a little bit heavier, and we actually use a few different herbs and spices and fruits that go into that are macerate with the spirit for about 6 weeks. But the kind of kicker with this one is we actually smoked some of the ingredients over a peat fire, so this one's called peat spice. But there's a good few things in the pipeline as well. We've got a lot of spirit in casks already. So since we really started distilling last year, we've been putting spirit away in casks. So it's exciting to see what we can bring in the future. Some from interesting casks, some port pipes to sherry butts, and some ex-bourbon casks and things like that as well. And then so we've got some overproof rum that could be coming in the next couple of weeks. Next couple of months. That's more high ester stuff, which is the product of a few long fermentations. And
when you say long, what is long?
So like in between kind of 4 and 6 weeks.
There we go. You know, in Scotland, when you have 100 hours, they say very long fermentation.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, these are exciting things as well. It's when you start anything, I guess, and you don't know how things were going to go, and it took us a little bit of time to figure out what we're doing with the still, and it is even still now we're still working out what we're doing with our fermentations and things like that as well.
Yeah. Then you're using wild yeast as well, don't you?
Yeah, so we've actually got a few different types of yeast, propagated yeast, so just distiller's yeast from a couple of different manufacturers, but we also use some more interesting yeasts that are maybe more seen in brewing rather than distilling, so we've got some that are more traditionally used for IPAs and such like. And right now in the background here, we've got 2 fermentations going. One's a wild yeast fermentation, so we started off the wash at a lower gravity, and introduced or just opened the top and saw what would come in pretty much. That distilled out. That fermented out in about 4 or 5 days, and we're going to let that have another few weeks actually, just a bit of time to see what happens. And one other long fermentation since we've got the fish and we shut down production. We thought we would let that go for a couple of weeks as well and see what we came up with.
Yeah.
Add a bit of the matured dunder that we've got and a little bit of the muck from our muck pit, just to see what would happen, really.
Yes, good.
So it's exciting.
I'll keep an eye on the future developments. Certainly do.
Excellent.
And we just saw it the other day that Mark Renier, we used to have Bruichladdich,
That's right.
apparently starting a rum distillery in Barbados. In Grenada, he's got it in Grenada, and then you've got Kilcoman, and now in Barbados. So why shouldn't we have a rum distillery on Islay? Shouldn't we?
Yeah.
So I think it's a great thing to have, and I very much keep abreast to what you're doing. And it's not the last time I'll visit you.
Thanks very much.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for popping in.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Right. Yeah,
interesting stuff over there. Did I catch that they are going to sort of release peated rum there?
They did peat smoked rum. Yes, I mean sort of it's I've tasted it. Yes, it's funky. Yes, it's different. But I mean, I guess when you're an Islay, that's what you have to do. I mean, sort of in terms of it. I sort of. I'm not such a big fan of spiced rums and sort of, but as I say, the normal straightforward rums, which I have tasted here, are stunning, really stunning.
And we do have a question for you, Ben. I'm just going to ask you off camera from one of our members. What kind of yeast are you using?
So we use a mixture, or we have used a distilled yeast called Distillamax RM, Distillamax SR, and now we're using an
whoops. And then things froze up. That's a bit of a pity. I think it was, well, that's the yeast part. I'm afraid we sort of lost connection with Islay there, and that's, I think, a bit of what you can expect when you are trying to do a tasting from Islay. So why not move swiftly on to the next one, which is small batch release 24, massive oak extraction. And for those of you who haven't poured it yet, if you look at it in the flask, it's really, really dark. So without even tasting it, I would pretty much get the massive oak extraction just by looking at the color. Remember, we don't color our whiskeys. We don't color our spirits, and all the color that you see is actually from the casks. So, Distillery 24, and well, look at that. That is brilliant, sheer and utter brilliance. If you look at the color, and although the color sometimes can be really tricky, as in sometimes the color can be really predictive of what you're going to taste. Sometimes it doesn't really predict what you're going to taste. And from this one, I know from experience, because I've already tasted it, this one is really predictive, as in this one is really, really, really rich. It's from the deep, rich and dried fruits. Flavor profile, it's 14 years old. It's from a mixture of first fill and refill Spanish and American oak, PX barrels and hogsheads. and it's bottled at 63% alcohol by volume. And if you smell it, for me, it immediately is clear that this is a sherry whiskey, basically. And it's also it hasn't only got the sweetness and the tropical fruits of an American oak. You can also immediately get the European oak in there as well. So from the taste, so the note on the nose, I get this really spicy sherry note. It's almost like it's infused with spices. It's like spiced wine, for instance. Now, not really going to a things like nutmeg, perhaps clove, perhaps. So it's not like a mulled wine, but it's definitely very spicy. And on top of that, there's all this sweetness coming in from the American oak. And if I taste it, the first thing that occurs to me is actually that this is 63% alcohol by volume, guys. It is smooth. It is dangerously smooth, I would say. I don't at all get the bite of the alcohol. Basically, I'm not sure if you at home are getting this, but there you are again.
Yep. Yes,
We're
yes,
back,
yes.
yeah.
I just got myself a rum straight from the car.
Whoops. Well, it sort of looks like the signal is coming through the Calmac ferry at the moment. So, well, that's again what you get from doing a live show from Islay. I'm really interested in what you get, guys. Wow, the nose is that full of sherry burst. Yeah, then the oak sweetness definitely there. This one is challenging. Joy Machine, why is it challenging? Actually, I mean, it is very, very full. The nose is totally thick with all kinds of aromas in there. But why is it challenging? I agree, and Bingham tells me that she agrees with the alcohol. It doesn't taste anything like 63%, now does it? No. So that's the funny thing with whiskeys. Whilst alcohol is the carrier of aromas and flavors, aromas and tastes, it doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily sharp itself. So having a lot of alcohol in a glass of spirit is actually a good thing because it carries the aromas and flavors. But it doesn't mean that a dram is particularly sharp all the time. Christopher Kolderak, rancio, leather, wood bitterness, cardamom, cinnamon, clove, a bit of musty dunnage. Oh yeah, that's really well picked up actually. If you smell this whiskey, there's this almost earthy, dusty characteristic to it, and that's sometimes what you get when you walk into the Danish warehouse. Great smell, to be honest. They should actually bring that out in toilet freshener as far as I'm concerned. But that's really good stuff. Sweet, then it goes to dry. Interesting. Okay, dry. Okay. Complex mixture of nuts and fruits. Let me see if Julian. Oh, no, sorry. Joy Machine has come back. Oh, this one is challenging. No, not yet. I like it more with a bit of water. Well, let's try that for a moment. So I added a little splash of water in there. And now it's completely changed. From this thick, almost oily, very sherry-like, sweet, spicy whiskey. It's now gone all fruity for me. almost. There's this hint of tropical fruits in there now. All of a sudden, that wasn't there. It was things like pineapple, things like peach, perhaps. Super smooth for the ABV. Deep oak and licorice, blackberry jam. Yeah, good stuff. The nose is heavy, almost oily. Taste lighter, juicy and fruity, brown sugar. Yeah, good stuff. Great tasting notes from you guys. I love these tasting notes. It is good to have a conversation about tasting notes, actually. There's nothing more personal than tasting notes, but it's also very good to have a conversation to try and assess what everybody's getting. It also brings you to new ideas. There's what do you say? It is sometimes the strength of suggestion is really strong. As in, if someone suggests a tasting note, you can actually pick it up afterwards. But you can also disagree on tasting notes. Again, they're really personal, and there's no such thing as a bad tasting note. So please bring them on. It's really interesting always. Inspector Moore's Old Jaguar Mark V. Oh, okay. That's the leathery thing, the leathery part of it, I guess, and the old wood and dustiness, perhaps. Good stuff. So now, old Ford Anglia. So now we are talking cars while we're drinking whiskey. Good stuff. So, great whiskey. Again, this is a small batch. We started off doing small batches for the Islay, for the festivals last year, and I know for a fact that they were very well received here in the Netherlands. The reason for that being that while we always did the single cask bottlings, which were great, they were always very limited, and the trouble with that is that meanwhile we've got so many members, so many people who would like to join us in enjoying these whiskies of ours, that it would become more disappointing for people that they couldn't get their hands on the festival bottlings, basically. So we decided to start off and do small batches, and I think a small batch release like this is a real testament to what our spirits team is actually doing in Scotland. As in, these whiskies are really, really great, and if I wouldn't have known that it was a small batch release, so not a single cask, I wouldn't have noticed. Not at all. Really good stuff. I have added water and I get the aroma of castrol R oil. Okay. Good stuff. For me, it's become more fruity. But again, that's only me. So Andrew, have we got connection with Islay again? No, we haven't. Okay. We're going to listen to a bit of music here. Our Sky musician, Donny Livingston. And then we'll be back with you with the Islay Whiskey Quiz. I hope Islay...
Gallant poacher lads that ramble void of care, who go out on the moonlit night with your dog, your gun, your snare. The harmless hare, the pheasant you have at your command, nor thinking on your last career upon Van Diemen's land. Was poor Jock Brown from Glasgow, Will Guthrie and Munro. They were three daring poacher lads, the country well did know. The keepers caught them hunting, all with their guns in hand. For 13 years transported unto Van Diemen's Land. Fateful shore, the settlers gathered round us, some 40 score or more. They herded us like cattle and sold us out of hand, and yoked us to the plough, my boys, to plough Van Diemen's Land. Scotland do labour and do toil, they are robbed of every blessing and produce of the soil. You proud imperious landlords, if you take their commands, we'll send you on the British hulks to plough Van Diemen's Land. Poacher lass that ramble void of care, who go out on a home at night, your dog, your gun, your snare. The harmless hare, the pheasant you have at your command, nor thinking on your last career upon Van Diemen's Land.
Yes, you are back, but we cannot hear you.
Yeah, it would have been really helpful if I had unmuted myself there, but I didn't. So, you know, we're back to Zoom. It's so good. I think I would have learned by now.
Good stuff. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great
to see you as well again.
Cheers on that last dram.
Cheers, yeah. You missed out on a very nice, very dark distillery. Oh, you still have it. Good stuff.
We still have it here, yeah. It's beautiful.
Sometimes as an ambassador, you're so lucky, and we actually sent me two tasting packs. So.
Hey.
I get to try them all. That's wonderful. No, I was really excited to present this dram, but Bob, I'm sure you did a smashing job.
I hope so.
I'm sure you did.
And I think we've also got a little bit of a whiskey quiz for all of you. So there's no prizes except for bragging rights and glory, but make sure you keep track of your scores, and we'll just run through the questions now. So it's a quick 5 questions with a bonus question, and we'll see if you know your stuff. So question number 1, where does the Lowland Highland boundary run between? Is it the River Clyde estuary to the River Tay estuary, the River Clyde to the Forth estuary, or the River Forth estuary to Loch Linney? So
difficult question.
It's a hard question, isn't it?
It is.
Does anyone know?
No one's coming.
No, nothing yet. No.
Everyone's getting the map out. You know,
getting the map out. Go to look. There was a really good article about this in Unfiltered. So you can definitely find the answer there. Got a few comments coming in. Okay, Rolf Leash says it's the second one, which is River Clyde to Forth Estuary. We've got C. Julian Rickman is saying River Forth Estuary to Loch Linney.
Anne
And
says number
Anne
one.
says number one.
So we got it all.
We've got all of them. All of them. Any more guesses?
No idea.
No idea. Last one.
The one that is between Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Okay.
Last one, B, A.
A. Goran 204 says A. B. We've got quite a range of answers here.
Yep.
So we're going to give you the answer to the first one. It is the River Clyde estuary to the River Tay estuary. So make sure you note down whether you got that one right or not.
Yep.
Second question. What whiskey region is on the Macallan label? So this isn't a multiple choice one. You either know it or you don't. Curious.
And it's not as easy as you think.
It's not. Do we want to say it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to give any clues. Don't want to give the answer away. Just wait. See if we get some answers coming through.
Everyone's getting the Macallan.
The Macallan. They're picking the bottle off the shelf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Speyside,
We've got a
Speyside.
mixture. Speyside. Christoph says Highland. Melvin says Speyside. Rolf says Highland. Ron says Speyside. So we've got about a 50-50
Yes.
split there.
Anne says
Anne
Speyside.
says Speyside. Anne, good to see you.
Even though it's a Speyside, they say Highland. Yep.
Speyside. Highlands.
Yep.
Highlands. Okay. We've got, again, a wide range of answers,
Yep.
but the answer is Highland. So make sure you mark that one down if you got it right. Question number 3 is a bit closer to our society home, and it's a home that you were actually
Just
in
on
just
Friday.
on Friday.
Yep.
What is the name of our famous partner bar in Campbelltown? Is it the Ardshiel Hotel, the Argyle Arms, or the Feathers Bar? So that's the Ardshiel Hotel, the Argyle Arms, or the Feathers Bar. And I think the tasting that you hosted on Friday was actually in this partner bar.
It was indeed.
And was it a good night?
Full house.
Yeah.
35 people.
Ah,
Tasting and dinner.
amazing.
Stunning.
And some good Campbelltown whiskies, I'm
Yes.
sure. Sounds great. Wish I'd been there.
Oh, chill.
So,
Yes. Oh, yes.
Elizabeth, Julian,
know-
both going for A. Could we please write the question on chat? We can try to. Our producer can try to do that. We only have.
It's only one.
It's only one more question. But we'll certainly for the next quiz we'll take it under advisement. So for those of you who've answered, you're all correct so far. It is the Ardshiel Hotel. And if you've not been, make sure you get yourself down to Campbelltown and go there because
Yep.
it is a great whiskey bar and it is a great society partner bar.
Yep. And it's an up and coming region again.
Up and coming region. Lots to see, lots to do. And you can tag on the trip to Islay while you're there.
Just like me.
Just like us. So, question number 4. What is the most northerly distillery in the Highland on the mainland? That's quite a mouthful to say. Is it A, Scapa, B, Rock Rose, or C, Wolfburn? So that is, we're asking you what the most northerly distillery in the Highlands is on the mainland. So it could be Scapa, Rock Rose, or Wolfburn.
Yep. Wolfburn.
We've got a few Wolfburns.
Wolfburn. And we got, so Wolfburn.
A lot of Wolfburns. Oh,
Rock
Claire
Rose.
coming in with Rock Rose.
Scapa, Rock Rose, or Wolfburn. Yep. Wolfburn.
Wolfburn.
Yep.
Interesting one.
Yeah.
Hard one, I
Well,
guess.
Well, I would have been fooled.
I
was
fooled by
fooled.
this
I
one.
was
Yeah,
fooled.
we ran through these earlier, and yeah,
Because it's not the most northernly whiskey distillery, but it's the most northern distillery.
it is indeed. And so, as you can see, our producers just flashed up the answer there. It is Rock Rose.
Yep. Never heard of it before this.
Oh, have you not?
No.
Oh, very good.
Yes, that's true, actually. Maltine, I like this.
Maltine.
Or Katie called the mainland as well. There you go.
That's true.
I like your style.
Okay, that's very good. And if you haven't been, Rock Rose is a gin distillery, and this is the answer according to Google, I'm told, by our producer, Andrew. Last question, although we do have a bonus question, although we may have given the answer to that one away earlier in the stream.
I have to listen.
But you had to, you had to be paying attention. And this question takes us to Islay, which is, when did Fashil first begin? Was it 1976, 1986, or 1996? So that's when did Fashil first begin? 1976, 1986, or 1996? Did you know the answer to this one?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Also, in Unfiltered, we did a great article about the history of Scotland's regional whisky festivals. So if you haven't checked that one out, it was last week on Facebook. So you can read the article, and it's a great read. It tells you all about Scotland's regional whisky festivals. So let's see, we got some answers.
86, 76.
76. Anne's saying 86.
Yeah.
Christoph is saying 86. Julian's saying 76. Alexandra's saying 86.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think 86 seems to be...
86 seems to be the winner. I think we can safely say it is 1986.
86.
And one last Islay bonus question for you. What town are we coming to you from? Where is this production? Where is the Islay Rum Distillery? And there's no multiple choice for this. So you'll have to let us know where you think we are on the island. And
I gave it away.
You did give it away. You said it at the beginning of the stream, but we had to, you know, it's fair enough, I think. So you've got a few different towns you could choose. And Anne Bingham saying Port Ellen. Captain Kaz is saying Port Ellen. Christoph says no idea. Well,
it was a former lemon factory.
Yeah, it was a former lemonade
factory.
Yeah. So make sure if you are over on Islay to come check it out. But yes, you guys who know it, you know it. It is Port Ellen.
Yep.
All of you got it.
And it's literally just opposite the malting.
It is, absolutely.
Port Ellen malting.
Yeah.
So you can't miss it.
You can't miss it. And that is the end of our whiskey quiz. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know how many points you got, if you got any. We will revisit the whiskey quiz at another point on another theme soon. So thanks for that. And I think we're on to drum number three.
That's it.
Which is over to you.
Yes, which is the rare release from the 93rd distillery. And we are in this small little town called Campbelltown. And where I just had the Campbelltown Festival in the Archie Hotel. And the distillery manager, Ian McAllister, was there. So I'm giving some things away, but not quite everything. And it's a rare release, lightly smoky. These guys do smoky whiskies, but also unsmoky whiskies. But here we got a lightly smoky one. And it's from, it's 1,276 bottles, but they're all first fill ex-bourbon barrels. So there's nothing else in there. It's just first fill ex-bourbon barrels, and called Lock, Stock, and Chew Smoking Funnels. Now, the first thing they say, the tasting note says there's something fishy. If there is anything fishy for me, then it's kippers maybe with butter, brown butter in a pan or something. And because I'm getting lots of sweetness, lots of vanilla, lots of honey. Just a very, very light smoke on the nose. I mean, really just light. I mean, we've had so many wonderful whiskies from that distillery, which is sort of still is the underdog really within Campbelltown. There's 3 distilleries at the moment, but it was just announced they're planning to build yet another distillery in Campbelltown. So I think there's 3 or 4 possibly on the go. So we're not yet quite at 36 distilleries as it once was. I mean, there were in total in the 19th century 36 distilleries at one time. 21. That was the highest number at one time 21 distilleries. And now we're left with 3, but might be soon 5, 6, maybe 7.
It might be my nose tonight, but first thing that occurs to me is this is a real fresh whiskey. Actually, I was expecting far more smokiness and perhaps fishy tones from what I read in the tasting notes. But if there is any fishy things in there, it's fresh fish, perhaps with some fresh herbs and spices on them, just before you drop it on the barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that, Bob. I mean, for me, it's almost like it's like being on a pier, and they've got the fish out, but also they've got some stalls selling fish and fresh fish and kind of fish and chips and langoustines and all of that kind of fresh seafood that you get at this time of year.
I very much get what Christoph says as well. The olives and anchovies, very smoky, salty. Yeah, that saltiness, of course, which everyone will tell you there is no saltiness because it doesn't exist, but it does exist. I mean, sort of, because I'll get it as well. It's that when you get the new spirit from that distillery, it has that oiliness, that sweetness, that maltiness, that saltiness as well. Apples, pears, beautifully balanced. And I think the best cask for that distillery is Pressfield bourbon barrels. I really do.
Yeah, and I would say we have an absolutely cracking 93 in the store just now. So if this is your kind of dram, make sure you check it out. It's not this one, but it is a very lovely dram.
But then when you try it, Bob, as well, because it's quite peaceful, but then it shows its character.
Yeah, there's definitely loads more peatiness on there and on the palate than there is on the nose. Which I like. It's almost like a smoky ceviche or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And someone got medicinal in the nose. I've seen. I didn't get medicinal in the nose, but I certainly get medicinal now in the palate.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Almost a bit of. I get a bit of chocolate as well.
Right.
Just at the very, very back of it.
White chocolate or
kind of dark chocolate. I would say about 70%.
Almost dusty, dry.
Yeah, like cocoa powder.
Yep. And again, it's also quite. It starts off sweet.
Yes.
In the palate, and then it goes to a bit of bitterness, but not overly bitter, and then it ends up being dry and sweet or something like that.
Yep. I agree. I mean, it's 60.2% as well, so it's pretty potent.
Again, the same with the last dram actually, which was 63% alcohol volume as well. I didn't get the alcohol at all on the 24.
I mean, Bob, you're just a real man, sort of. I mean,
well, there were actually lots of comments agreeing with me. So.
Oh, there we go. All real man.
My head.
Well, we've got some good tasting notes coming through. So Ansgar said that she had this one recently at the Benelux Partner Bar, the Malt Vault in The Hague, which sounds like a great place to enjoy it. Julian says it reminds him of creels, nuts, and fish sauce. Robert Hardy Pickering knows the Mersey River on the tide turning, which is very poetic.
Okay. Yeah, well, I like
that.
I'm a chairperson of the panel. I would take that immediately, and you would find it.
Absolutely. And Mark says he prefers it with water, and it goes very nicely with his chocolate again. It's
very creamy as well. That's the meat. This is the amazing thing. When I add a little bit of water, it becomes so creamy. It becomes so like a sweet vanilla cream. And the smoke is a little bit more, for me, it's sort of embedded and balanced.
Can I add some water now and try?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. With water, that just becomes unbelievably sweet.
Yep.
I get less of the dark chocolate that I was getting before. It's almost more of a milk chocolate, maybe one that has salted nuts in it. Our friends from Sweden popped by and saw us yesterday at the Valley Grant Inn, and they brought us some chocolate that had salted nuts through it. Yep. And it reminds me of...
It didn't last long.
It didn't last long, no. Talking about whiskey is a hungry business, I would say. And Alexandra says with thyme vanilla ice cream on the nose. Yeah, definitely.
And the palate gets really, really smooth.
Yes, that's what I really like. I mean, sort of, it's just,
it's almost silky.
yeah, yep.
I would say, because I know we had quite a few folk talking to us online on the socials saying that they either didn't have their tasting pack with them or that they had things on tonight. So if you are watching this back after the fact, then please jump into the comments, let us know which dram you're enjoying, what you think about it. We will go through the comments in the next couple of days and answer any questions. We'd also love to know generally of these drams, which ones are your favorite, and of course, keep telling us on the night if you're here right now as well, if this one's your favorite.
Yeah. Christoph, I agree. The mouthfeel is fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, and on the notes, especially on water, I also already had it on without water. That if I were in the panel, I would sort of have a discussion about this being in either oily and coastal or lightly peated. It's on the rim as far as I'm concerned.
The problem I'm agreeing with you, Bob. The problem is just whenever there is a little bit of peat, if we did not say it's peated, then obviously the people who really hate peat, it's out the window. I mean, of course we're on an island now with the Fragile, so everyone loves peat. So I think this could be an oily and coastal and a Fragile easily. I mean, sort of, because these guys are drinking something completely different with higher peating levels. But there are people who just don't like peaty whiskies at all. So, but I would agree. I would put that in oily and coastal myself.
Especially with a bit of water in.
I think with
loses
the
a bit of
vanilla.
smoke.
Yeah, but dare I say, maybe even sweet, fruity, and mellow. But hey, that's
that's
another.
Controversial. We need an oily coastal and lightly peated category. Yeah, something between the two.
Yeah, Christoph, that's what I say very often. We need a spicy and sweet. We have spicy and dry, but then we maybe need something dry and sweet or something. So it's always difficult. I mean, it will always be difficult to where to put it and what. And then the tasting note should give you an idea, where it's actually going in terms of what it is. And I can tell you one thing. I'm one of the chairpersons of the panel. So whenever we finish it and we discuss it, you ask 4 people and you get almost 5 different flavor profiles. I mean, sort of in terms of what it is. And so we try our best. It's not ideal, but it's a good starting point. It's a good starting point to look into it. But I would certainly not just always. When people say I always just drink lightly peated one, I always just drink sweet, fruity, and mellow. Again, we're a society. Try different things. I mean, yesterday, I had a dram in the Ballyground Inn, and someone said, "I've never had anything good from that distillery," and that was his favorite of the night. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, I think it just shows you. I mean, I would say, Ewan says that our flavor profiles are they're very deliberately broad brush strokes are the words that he uses, and that's because it's a starting off point. So what may look good on paper, you might try it and say, actually, I think I'm deep, rich, and dried fruits, and then you might be more of a sweet, fruity, and mellow. But I think that's the joy of the society. You have your 12 flavor profiles. You try something from each one, and even flavor profiles that you might not normally enjoy in the right setting with the right company.
Correct.
You never really know.
That's it.
Very true. We just finished our blind tasting competition, this over here in the Benelux, and one of the questions for the members was, in which flavor profile is this whiskey, or this spirit? And apart from the peaty ones, people were all over the place, and that's actually a good thing. I think it's people giving their own opinions, giving their own tasting notes, and as I said during the last whiskey, there's no such thing as a bad tasting note. So,
thank you, Bob.
And I think as well, your tastes are constantly evolving and changing. I mean, for the longest time when I started drinking whiskey, I found peat quite difficult. And after a while, you find the right peated dram, and it's a bit of a gateway. And before you know it, you're only drinking peated whiskey. So things can change pretty quickly.
Yep,
absolutely.
But we're getting closer and closer to Islay now.
We are getting closer.
We've been to the lowlands, and then we've been to Speyside. Now we've been to Campbelltown. So I think we finally take the ferry to.
I think shall we get on the ferry to Islay?
Exactly, from Penacraig.
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely. So that takes us to the next whiskey, Distillery 3. Actually, one of my favorite distilleries, as in it is one that is usually... Did I freeze there? I did froze up for a bit. Sorry. It's actually one of my favorite distilleries, as in this is one that's usually not overly peated, but only slightly or lightly peated. Although this whiskey over here is actually in the peated category. It is Distillery 3 rare release. So, and the first thing that I notice when I smell this is actually fruitiness again. Must be my nose tonight, but on top of that, it's also a characteristic that I every once in a while find Distillery 3 bottlings around this age. So starting off at 16 to 18 years old, these whiskeys tend to get really fruity on top of this more or less, well, I would say ashy or slightly fragrant peatiness that it also has. So this is 18 years old. It is a mixture of second fill ex-bourbon and Spanish Oloroso hogsheads. What I do get immediately is the combination of this peatiness and sherry, which sort of, and now I'm going to say something perhaps controversial, and it sort of reminds me of paint, as in a painted piece of furniture, in a very good way.
Oil-based paint.
Yeah.
Oil-based paint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like linseed oil. I get that. Yeah, definitely get that.
Yeah. No, for me, it reminds me of these miniature these miniature airplane kits we used to put together, and then you had to paint them. So it's oil based.
Yep. No, I always get the linseed oil because my son used to be a cricketer, and I always had to get the new cricket. I mean, I had to do the hard work, sort of knocking it in.
Okay, I see.
Put the linseed oil on top of it. And it was always the beginning of the season, and then you went into the pavilion and it was freshly painted, the grass freshly cut, and that sort of thing. That's what.
No, I think this has been one of my favorite jams that I've tried. I mean, actually, I love all of them. But this has been my recent favorite, I should say. It's just it's
sorry.
No, you're fine. It's delicate, but there's a lot there to unpack. I think you need a bit of time with it.
Absolutely, and especially with an older Distillery 3, I think this deserves a bit of development in the glass. Obviously, everybody is free to add water at any time they like, but this is the sort of whiskey I can spend a whole evening with. Just pour a dram and have it develop over time.
Yep.
As it will. As in the sharper notes will drop down a bit. It will become slightly more heavy. The fruitiness will come out.
I think as well. So when we were sampling this one yesterday, a lot of the tasting notes that were coming back were kind of green pineapple, really tropical. And I know we keep coming back to the fact that we're in a rum distillery, but those tropical notes do just kind of take you to that feeling of summer and being on a beach and just having some time to sit there and spend with your drums.
Yeah. It really
I saw one question about the casks. I can't see it anymore. But it was it's second fill bourbon, and then other second fill bourbon, they were finished in Oloroso. So finished or extra matured. I don't know how long they were in. Normally we know it and we tell you, but in this case, being a rare release, it's just a variety of different casks. But they started all off in second fill bourbon barrels, and then some of them been moved into Oloroso casks.
And we've got a ton of tasting notes coming in. So Christoph says as well, he's getting the tropical fruits on the nose, pineapple, mango. Sander is talking about Fruity Time Travel last year, one of our releases from last year, which is also a cracker. Alexandra's getting oil, apples, brown sugar. And one of the great comments. One of my favourite comments of the evening, Robert Hardy Pickering, this has changed my view of peated. It's fab neat.
There we go.
Well, we're here to change mindsets.
Wow.
That's a big comment.
Yeah.
Captain Kaz, good one. Smoky pineapple cake. I like that.
I like that.
It's also one of those drams when I would pour this one downstairs, I think my wife would immediately pick it up. It's got this strange combination between fruitiness and peatiness. And while my wife is not really into whiskey, she will every once in a while taste a dram, but she's not really a huge fan of it. She's really good at recognizing aromas, so she's usually spot on with this one.
Yeah. I think the thing for me about our society whiskies is so much of it as well is about who you're enjoying your drams with and what the time was when you opened that bottle and who you shared it with. And I know that this one will be Islay for me this week and doing this tasting actually. So I'm going to be bold and say this is my favorite of the evening, even though we haven't tried the final dram of the night yet.
But you've tried it anyway. So.
Well, I have, but I'm going to say this is my favorite. Captain Kaz is asking if this one has sold out. This one has sold out, I'm afraid. It is just the 53.446 that's available in the UK and EU. And I've actually got a list of the other releases that aren't in this pack if anyone's interested. So in the UK, we still have the Distillery 68 rare release Bake Off, which if you haven't tried yet, you should, because if you love sherry, it's definitely one to try.
Yep.
We've got Distillery 53 rare release Honeysuckle Petrichor in the UK shop as well. And then in the EU, we have both cask number 108.69 Sweet Limestone Pavement, which is a young and sprightly number, also just fantastic sweet minerality. And then cask number 53.446 Blowtorch Mexican Moose, the last dram of the night. So that one we have available in both shops. But if you haven't tried any of the others, please do, because they're not to be missed. And I'm seeing a couple of other comments. My favourite of the night so far as well. But there are, as my producer's reminding me, thanks Andrew, there may also be some at venues, or we may have some coming back from Islay. So please contact member services, or if you're near a venue, go and check it out and see if they have any. And also a wee reminder that if you purchased your tasting pack in the UK, there's a wee voucher in your email that came out. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you are outside of the UK, there's all these partner bars all around Europe who also have these kind of bottlings. I'm not sure about this particular bottling, for instance, at the Maltvault in Utrecht in The Hague, but they sure as hell have got a lot of distillery threes around. And again, if they come to this sort of age, 16, 17, 18 years old, they normally would sort of hit this profile. So if you're not able to taste this, go to a partner bar and ask for a distillery 3 around this age, and you probably have something similar.
Yep.
Absolutely, that's a great shout, Bob. All our partner bars, we've got such a huge network of them across Europe, across the rest of the world. So if you're traveling this summer, please make sure that you just check and see where we are, because you might also discover something that you haven't seen in a while, or you might discover something that you've never tried before, and that's what we're all about.
Yep. I always say when I go into partner bars, I see, my God, long lost friends, because there's still a few drams left, from one bottle which is long gone, and it's just delightful. Sort of, again, having a memory, just having one glass, sort of thinking, yep, it's as good as I remember it. It's fantastic. Yep.
And it's all about flavor, isn't it?
It is. It's all about flavor, and it's all about, as you said rightly, about people, about where you are, what's the environment and everything. And it's wonderful. I mean, that's when people ask me, Olaf, what's the best way to drink whiskey? I always say with friends is the best way to drink whiskey. And that's what a society, being a society, is exactly that. You're joining together. And that's what makes us, I feel, so special.
Totally agree there.
And And we've got some more tasting notes coming through. Sebastian, the smell is amazing. Kind of get this whiff of ensilage of grass paired with passion fruit.
Silage.
Tropical
Yeah,
note
tropical.
again, yeah. Can you buy the t-shirts you are wearing?
Can you buy the t-shirts? We have some on Islay with us. I'm not sure if we have any in
Don't know.
members' rooms.
Don't.
That would be a question we can check.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to you on that. How about that? But I think with that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh well, I sort of recognize the name. This particular gentleman is coming to us coming to Scotland in about 2 weeks now on a member trip to the venues. So if there are any at the venues, he'll be able to buy them.
Brilliant.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I think we're in the home stretch now.
Yes.
So why don't we dive into the last drum?
Which is a simple cask.
It is a single cask. It is the single cask of the evening. And this one is also an Islay distillery.
Yeah.
And it is a gorgeous colour, as you can see. The cask type, it is, I should say the distillery number and name first. It's cask number 53.446 Blowtorch Mexican Moose. It's from Islay. It's 14 years old. And it's a first fill American oak PX hogshead.
Yeah, it was 11 years in an ex-bourbon hogshead, and then it was moved 3 years into a first fill American oak PX hogshead. So, what we wouldn't call finishing, because finishing is usually 3-6 months maximum. When we're talking about re-racking casks, we're talking usually about 2 to 3 years. So it's much more really an additional maturation, extra maturation. And here for me, it's this wonderful thing of peat and sherry in almost perfect balance.
Yeah, no, it really is just, there's so much here. And again, this is a dram that I would take some time with it. With all of these drams, actually, come back to them. If you haven't poured them all out, if you've still got some left, come back to them in later this evening, in the next days, because also if you go back to the first one, you may have quite a different experience of it, especially if you've added water. It's been in the glass for a while, so take some time to think about them and the tasting notes that you get. I would say with this one, there's a lot of sweetness there, and actually I would say on the nose, I don't immediately get a big whiff of peat. It's very, very, very subtle.
No, it says here nicely. It sounds indulgent. It certainly was. It certainly is.
Yeah.
I mean, and then on the taste as well. Obviously, it's quite funny because we're making full circle. Jamaican rum. I mean, we got in there root beer, old-fashioned root beer, and then Bob, I've taken a leaf out because that's my tasting note. I've taken a leaf out of Hans of Fingers. Sort of a smoke-filled jazz bar, listening to the band playing a riff,
Wow.
Which,
that's a bar where I would like to be at today. Good stuff.
I think we'd all like to be there.
And actually, I just saw Hans at his birthday in Zwolle, which again, you're talking about partner bars. Fantastic partner bar there, Hotel Fitter in Patrick's Whiskey Bar. So whenever you're in Holland, a good place to be, really good place.
Absolutely, and even a good place to visit from outside as well. The man has got a tremendous collection of whiskies among, I think, somewhere in the vicinity of 300 to 400 of ours. So that's a really good one to be.
Yeah, it was quite funny when I moved it. When I got in, I sort of looked and I couldn't find Society because there were so many which were separate in a corner. When you're thinking, here we go, and then there's so many of it. He's a fantastic guy, Patrick, and
And I would just say that that's a note there from Andrew saying that our Drams Heritage team will be more than happy to look and see if we can locate any of these. And so just get in touch. And also on the t-shirts, if you're interested in a t-shirt, let us know and we'll see what we can do.
Good stuff.
We've got some great tasting notes coming through. Julian says some cured meat and charcuterie.
Yeah.
Mark says red cola cubes, which is a good one. And then Alan says, I know it's Olaf's favourite distillery. Is that true?
It's one of my favorite, yes. And you can see it's not just my favorite because it's 446, so we have 446 casks. So
absolutely.
I think we like it. I mean, it comes from there.
What it reminds me of.
This particular drum is still available to purchase by the bottle. So we have it on both UK and EU, if this happens to be your favourite of the evening.
What the smell of this reminds me of is if you are going to smoke a fish, you have to first brine it a bit. And if you use a brine in which you use quite a lot of brown sugar and some fresh herbs and especially some fresh citrus.
Yeah.
If my fish is smelling like this, it's going to be great.
Well, we did actually a few years ago do a recipe for whiskey cured salmon. So I think if you were to put this in and cure your salmon in it, it would be very good.
Yep.
Might be worth trying.
Might be a bit indulgent.
It might be. It's very indulgent, but I mean, it would be, maybe for Christmas or something, if you still have any left by then, of course. Tim saying, I don't think I've ever had a dram that I didn't like from this distillery.
That's because we're looking after you.
We've got banana chewits, but no, keep your tasting notes coming because they're fantastic. And I think I've just had a wee taste there, and all of a sudden I really get the smoke, but it's sweet smoke. And it reminds me of, actually, I grew up in the States. It reminds me of barbecue and kind of long smoking times.
It's almost not peaty, it's smoky, isn't it?
Smoky,
yeah. It's wood smoke instead of other than.
Sander's got a really good tasting note. First sip is like Christmas evening in front of the fireplace at home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With the kids in bed, yeah.
Definitely.
I'm going to try this with a bit of water.
This one is for nerds. Well, I'm a nerd then, Robert.
Alan has a good one, molasses sugar.
Yeah, again, this is this rum, the molasses.
Rum, brown sugar.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Paul, a bit of fried kipperish on the nose, that's a good thing. But the first sip is nothing like I expected. Not like any 53 I've ever had.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to surprise you.
Absolutely.
And Goran's getting a bit of jelly bean.
Always. I'm a fan of jelly beans. So.
Yeah, I can see that.
I was searching for that. I mean, there is a certain fruitiness to it, but it's more chemical sort of fruitiness. So I get the jelly bean. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sebastian's saying spicy with cinnamon, burnt sugar, hickory smoked mackerel.
Yep.
We've got some more folk getting jelly beans as well.
Now this is it, isn't it? The power of suggestion.
It is the power of suggestion. And that's one of the reasons actually why our panel, when they're sitting down and coming up with tasting notes, they don't actually speak to each other until they've experienced the dram in all of the different ways, and then they discuss it, because it's very important to not influence one another.
As soon as someone pipes up, everyone's going in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you can, for example, say, if someone says, oh, this has a little bit of an orangey tint, the color, I'll bet you within 5 minutes someone tastes or smells oranges. It's just what it is.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about blind tasting, actually. Last couple of weeks, we did a blind tasting here in Benelux with a couple of members, and what I was actually surprised at how close the tasting notes were. As in, people, although they can be quite apart, most of them are actually quite close to each other. So that was astounding.
Yeah. Definitely. So I'm gonna ask the question, because I already said which drum was my favorite, but I'm gonna come to you, Bob, and ask you if you happen to have a favorite from tonight.
I'm revisiting the 24 now, and it is dark chocolate all over, and I love it. However much I love the 3, and yeah, I'm a bit of a sucker for 24 in this form. So 24 for me.
Yeah, lots of actually smelling that one. Coming back to it now, I really get a lot of toffee popcorn, which is it's a very nice one to come back to when we've just had a bit of kind of a smoky dessert, and then back to a bit of toffee popcorn. Try them all again.
That's it.
What about you, Ola?
I knew you would ask me that.
I knew you knew I was going to ask.
my usual answer is, which is my favorite, is the next one coming. It's my favorite because it's still in my glass.
Yeah.
Or the one you buy me, because I don't have to pay for it. But I find it hard. I find it really hard. I love the G16 because it's such an oddball. I mean, it's just such. I mean, you must be a nerd to do that. I mean, certainly when I use the word nerd here, but probably the number 3, the 93. The 93.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I can see we've got similar notes coming in. So Christoph says it's hard to choose between the 93 and the 3.
Yeah.
We've got another 3.
Yeah.
93.
Yeah.
Hahiba says the 53.
Yeah.
Malthound has fallen for the 24.
Yep.
Craig G says it's between the 24 and the 53.
Yeah.
And Salty Dog 693.
It's
says,
fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I guarantee you, what is your favorite now? If you try it again, it might not be your favorite. If you still have some of your drams left to pour.
Yeah.
But just a wee reminder before we wrap up for the evening that we are doing a Refer a Friend deal right now. So they get 20% off their membership. You get £20 voucher, and you can win a festival case. So if you have someone to refer, make sure you do. And also check out your tasting notes for a wee thank you. And if you happen to be on Islay, we're going to be at the Bowmore Hotel from 12 to 4 p.m. tomorrow. And keep an eye on your socials. We'll be saying where we are on Islay. And otherwise, there is so much going on just now in all of our venues across Europe. So many events to take in this beautiful summer weather. So make sure you do. And obviously, we've got Outturn coming this Friday as well at 9 a.m. UK time and 10 a.m. EU time. I think all that's left to do is say thank you to all of our members who have tuned in.
Yeah.
Thank you to Andrew, our producer behind the scenes.
He must have had a sweaty moment when we were sort of
thank you to putting
Bob,
up.
And Bob, of course.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, thank you, Bob, and
Welcome.
thank you also to everyone who put up with our technical difficulties at the start of the evening. But with that being said,
I'll take my number 3.
Yeah, I'd like to raise a glass to all of you and thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, Slange for Islay.
Slange from Islay.
Slange.
Cheers.
Tell me if it was on your road, your roaring northern wind, as ye come blowing fae the land that's never fae my mind. My feet they travel England, but I'm daeing for the north. My man, I saw the siller tides run up the Firth of Forth. I when I ken them wheeling you and fain they fall and rise, and fain I'd feel the creeping mist on yonder shore that lies. But tell me as you passing by, if it saw ye on the way. My man, I rocked the roving gulls that sail up in the Tay. beating wind, afar you come to Fife. For there's muckle lying yonder tay, that's near to me than life. My man, I sweat the Angus blaze that you have not trod for years. Oh, and forgie a hameless loon that canna see for tears. And far up in the Angus straths I saw the wild geese flee, a lang, lang skein of beaten wings with their heads turned towards the sea. And I, their crying voices trailed, I hint them on the air. Oh, wind, ha' mercy, haud your wisht, I darna listen mair. Far up in the Angus straths I saw the wild geese flee, a lang, lang skein of beaten wings with their heads turned towards the sea. And I, their crying voices trailed, I hint them on the air. Oh, wind, ha' mercy, haud your wisht, I darna listen mair.